Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Qur'an Girl here. We are now on lesson 6 and I wanted to start off with Tafkheem and Tarqeeq. Those are the other two opposite rules. Remember last time I was telling you that isti'la, where the back of the tongue gets lifted, is called isti'la, and those are the same as Tafkheem. And I couldn't remember the meaning of Tafkheem. Well, turns out that, so we have isti'la letters, which if you remember, we had gone up on the board, which was the khussa, dagtin, qid. And those are the letters where you lift the back of your tongue. And all the rest of them are the opposite of isti'la, which is istifal. So Tafkheem is the same as isti'la. So what happens is when you raise the back of your tongue, it sounds kind of heavy, right? We're not talking about shidda, which is strong. We're not talking about jahr, which is stopping airflow. We're talking about kind of heavy, tafkheem. It becomes mukhaffam. The opposite is tarqeeq, which is light, which is also the same as all the istifal, which, you know, the tongue is down on the ground. So that's the opposite of tafkheem, is tarqeeq. And so now you know, and that brings us to the end of all the sifat. Now, the next thing I would like to go over with you is the rule of nun sakin and tanween. Nun sakin is known as an asli sukun. Asli sukun means it is always pronounced. It is a sukun where after it you cannot have any other letter with a sukun. You can't have an alif. You have to have the letter after it has to be having a fatha, dhamma, or kasra, right? And it is always pronounced. And you can find it at the middle of the word, at the end of the word, but it's always going to be pronounced. Whereas tanween is different. Tanween, you're only going to find it in nouns, and you're only going to find it at the end of a word. Like hubbin, all right? And that in sound is only going to be at the end of a word. And if you do not continue that word with the next word in recitation in the Qur'an, then if you stop, it's going to turn into hub. You're not going to pronounce the tanween. So that's the difference between tanween and nun sakin. The tanween is always extra. It's always found at the end of a word. It's only found in nouns, and you only pronounce it when you are continuing recitation. Whereas nun sakin is always pronounced. It can be found in the middle or end of a word. It can be found in a verb, noun, preposition, and you always pronounce it whether you stop on that word or not. So there's different rules of nun sakin and tanween, and I would like to go over a couple of them with you today. One of them is Iqlab. Iqlab is where you have the nun sakin or tanween sound, right? You can definitely have a nun sakin at the end of a word too, right? Like you can find it middle or end of a word. So let's say an or min, right? Let's say min, and then the next word after it starts with a ba, right? Min ba'di. Is that how you're going to pronounce it? No. You're going to say min ba'di. You can hear the ghunna sound and you hear a mim in there. This is the meaning of iqlab. Iqlab means to change. When you change something, it's called iqlab, and in this case, we're changing the sound of the nun sakin to a mim. Min ba'di. Min ba'di. Right? And making it flow with the ba sound. That's the definition of iqlab. Now, with iqlab, you can find it in one word or two. The example I just gave you was between two words, min and ba'di. Goes together to make min ba'di. Then you can also have it in one word, like ambi'uni, right? Naba, to give news. Ambi'uni. Ambi'uni. An, and then bi'uni is how you write it. But when you join the an and ba sound, anbi'uni, it becomes ambi'uni. أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين. أنبئوني. So you can find Iqlab in one word or in two. The meaning means to change, and what you are changing is from its original sound to the meme sound, with ghanna pronounced. The next rule is called Idhaar. Idhaar is to make clear, to make obvious. Idhaar is when you have the nun sakin or tanween followed by any of the huruf al-halq. Remember huruf al-halq? A little review here. أقصى الحلق, وسط الحلق, أدنى الحلق, همزة ها, عين ha, غين خا. So when you have the tanween or nun sakin followed by any of these letters, any of these 6 letters, you make them clear. So there's a complete distinction between the nun sound of the nun sakin or tanween and the next letter that follows in the next word or in the same word. So this can also be in one word or in two, between two. So you can have examples are man amana, man amana. Okay, that was a phone call coming through. Gonna ignore it. Hey, it's YouTube blogging, so we're just gonna get used to a little bit of sounds here and there. Man amana is an example between two words, or you can have an'amna, an'amna. It's in one word, but you're pronouncing the two very clearly. An'amna. All right. The next one of the rules, because there's 4 rules, we finished Iqlab, we finished Idhaar. The next one is Idgham, right? Now Idgham and Ikhfaa are the ones I have the hardest time with when I'm studying the rules or when I am practicing it. Not sure why, but even though I kind of learned, through a lot of listening to Qur'an and listening to different qaris, my favorite is Abdul Basit. I love his, the way that he recites and his emphasis on the, each of the rules, and he goes really slow. So I was able to pick up these things. But when I actually went in to start learning all the rules, I'm like, oh my gosh, these are the 2 that I found the hardest. So here goes. Well, with idgham, one of the things that we need to know is what is a shadda, because idgham is where you are going to be using a sound of a shadda as well. So shadda means you have the sound, two letters going back to back, 2 of the same letters, the first with sukoon and the second with a fatha dhamma kasra, like قل أعوذ برب الناس. That noon it's like having 2 noons back to each other, back to back, but we are just writing one and then writing a shadda on it, right? So that's a shadda sound. So that's what it is. Now, how does it apply to idgham? Well, idgham is where when you have a nun sakin or tanween followed by yarmalun letters, yarmalun, so ya, ra, mim, lam, waw, or nun, then you're going to have an idgham sound. Idgham means assimilation. And when you assimilate, what you will do is you will drop the body of the noon, so you will not let your tongue hit. Remember, noon is from the makhraj, tarf al-lisan, the tip of the tongue, hitting the hard palate. You will not hit the hard palate, but you will just use the sifa. The sifa of noon is ghanna, right? So we're going to just bring in the ghanna, sifa, for only the yanmu letters. The ra and the lam are unique. They are called idgham kamil. You will not be able to tell even barely that the noon is there. You will kind of be able to, but it goes and it assimilates very well into the ra and the lam. Whereas with yanmu, when those letters follow the tanween or the nun sakin, you will bring the ghanna in, and that's called idgham nakis. Alright? So, for example, this can happen in only between 2 words. For example, may ya'mal, may ya'mal. instead of saying man ya'mal, you're saying man ya'mal, man ya'mal. See how we dropped from the man? It's like we dropped the noon. It's like you just drop the noon. And it's like you put on the ya'mal, it's like you're putting a shadda on the ya. So it's like joining the mim fatha with a shadda ya. Man ya'mal. The only thing that makes that glue connection, the adhesion, the assimilation, is the sound of the ghunna, the sifa of the noon, the ghunna. And this is idgham. So examples are man ya'mal or عاملة ناصبة. This one's a little hard to be able to tell because it's tanween followed by a noon shadda, right? So even though you're dropping the noon from the first word, عاملة tun, you're dropping the noon sound. So it's like saying عاملة tu, and then putting a shadda on the next one. That's how it seems when you are reciting it. That's not how you will see it written, but that is how you pronounce idgham. عاملة ناصبة or من يعمل. These are two examples of idgham nakis because they have ghunna. The ones that do not have ghunna are ra and lam. And for those two, for those examples, you will barely hear the noon. Ar-ra'ahu. Instead of an and ra'ahu, we drop the noon and we just join the alif to the ra and pretend that the ra has a shadda. Ar-ra'ahu. And the way that we glue it together is with the sifa of the noon, the ghunna. Another example is an-lam. An and lam, you pronounce it together as an-lam, an-lam. So this is idgham. And last but not least, we have ikhfa. Ikhfa is hiding or concealment. With ikhfa, you will always have the ghunna sound. And ikhfa is all the other letters, the ones that we did not cover in Iqlab, which is ba, following tanween or nun sakin. It is none of the huruf al-halq, which is what idhar was. Those letters following the nun sakin or tanween. It is not yarmalun, which is all the idgham letters. All of those aside, the rest of them are ikhfa. Ikhfa is hiding or concealment. And for ikhfa, you pronounce the tanween or the nun sakin as if it's in between the idhar and idgham. Alright, so you're not pronouncing it entirely, neither are you assimilating it, you are just going to hide it. Now how do you do this? For this, what you do is your tongue will never pronounce the noon. It will get again the sifa. It will use the idgham, the ghunna sifa. Sorry, it will use the ghunna sifa, and it will never touch the hard palate, and it will go straight into the next letter. So it conceals it. Min sharri, min sharri, min sharri. Right? Min sharri is an example. See how you can tell there's a noon, but it's just hidden. Min sharri. And you have that ghunna that brings the sifa of the noon. Or al-insan, al-insan. I didn't say al-insan. I said al-insan. It never touched the hard palate. Again, anfusakum, anfusakum. So you can find this sifa in one word or two words. Alright? And that is the end of our lesson on ikhfa. A couple more examples would be an kana or adun fa'uhliku. Right? Those are both idhar, ikhfa as well. And that's the end of today's lesson. Inshallah, hopefully this review was helpful. Tomorrow we will go into some more of the rules and getting up to that exam date. It's in a week, so we're almost there. Assalamu alaikum.